lost. I didn't take 3 minutes. It was more like a minute and a half.
Has everyone stopped recording yet?
No, I'm still recording. Fuck you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pragmatically Primitive. This is our official episode 1. Just before we get into the episode, I just wanted to explain a couple things to you guys. In this episode, we're going to be going through a bunch of school stories. We're joined by our good friend Richard Morales, who's going to be jumping in, and we're just going to be just reminiscing, catching up, shooting the shit, if you will. And it was a good time. Good times were had. Before we get into the episode, I just want to mention a couple of things really quickly. We mentioned early on in this that it's episode 2. It's not. It's episode 1. I don't want you guys to think you're missing out on anything. We kind of lost the files to our original episode 1, so this is now episode 1. And also, the glorious Mr. Kyle Bain wasn't recording for the first half of this. He shows up eventually, but for the first little bit, Kyle's missing. You might be able to tell we still have a few things to learn when it comes to this podcast stuff, but we're getting better. So if you enjoy this episode, leave a like, drop a comment if you want to ask us some questions or whatever, and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the episode.
Welcome to episode 2. Today we're joined by a very special guest, Ricardo Morales.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh God, this is already garbage.
What the fuck? I just said hello.
This is the little fucker that we mentioned in the pilot episode about who'll be frequently joining us. He's the one that we kindly described as eccentric.
Yeah, what a great use of fucking the English language, eccentric.
Well, I didn't want to call you a dickhead in the pilot episode. So, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself, Mr. Morales?
I was born in the late 90s. I came out foot first, so you know they had to cut my mother open to get me out. Can you shut up with the MILF shit, like, please? Yeah, and like ever since that happened, it's been living life on the edge. Went to school with these fuckers, so that was a great experience. Apart from seeing Kyle every day, like fucking yeah. So nothing much to say, guys. You'll learn a bit more about me as we go on, I guess. Like Ben has said, I'm gonna be a frequent guest on this bitch.
Well, since you mentioned school, we thought today, since all 4 of us were here for the first time, that we'd share some stories from our school experience. I remember this time because Richard and Kyle and I did food tech together in year 10.
Oh, here we fucking go.
In year 10, man. I think it was. And
we did food tech from we were all in the same class, year 9 and 10.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
so it was either one of them two.
We were all paired into the same group originally. And then... and
and
we were
fucking, I'm
cooking...
just waiting.
Was it Serbian sausages?
Oh, not my
Chivapis.
Chivapis! No!
Yeah. And so we each had like a different dish we had to cook. And so Richard was cooking is it Chivapis it's pronounced?
Yeah, Chivapis.
Yeah, Chivapis. Richard was cooking the Chivapis. I think Kyle and I were cooking the dessert, I think. And all of a sudden, it was probably about 30-40 minutes into this class, and we start smelling smoke. And we were like, what the fuck is happening? And we turn around, and Richard has put the Chivapis into the grill in the oven with the tinfoil in it. He put the grill door up with the tinfoil and the Chivapis in it. And the Chivapis and the tinfoil caught fire inside of our year 10 classroom, and the oven just started smoking profusely to the point where the 3 of us had to leave our station and go outside because we were spluttering and coughing so much from all the smoke inhalation that we couldn't stay in the room. And we walked back in 5 minutes later, and it's it looked like there'd been a fire inside the classroom because it was that high hanging smoke, and it was just it was progressively getting clearer as you looked from the top of the ceiling down towards the bottom of the floor. And we can be safe to say that our food tech teacher didn't like us very much after that.
What are you talking about? She freaking hated me, man. I had so many great moments in food tech like that where it's something pretty basic, and I managed to fuck it up so hard.
Were you in PJ and Mai's group in year 8, Richard, when we exploded the muffins?
That was fun.
Nah, I was in a different
No, that was
thing.
me, you, and James.
Oh. Yeah, I remember that. And because who was it? It was either you or James that said, "Oh, it's all right," because we were putting more. Every lesson they'd put a little bit more sugar in. I think it was you, PJ, that kept saying
No. It was James.
Extra sugar in.
It was James.
Okay. Well, every lesson we would cook something, we would add a little bit more sugar into it just to just to be smartasses because we could. And one lesson we were cooking muffins, and we were using baking. What was it?
Baking soda?
What was it? It was self-raising flour. That's right.
Yeah, but the soda's what
And-
made it blow up.
Yeah, and because they were using soda and self-raising flour, those two monkeys thought it would be a good idea to add extra into everything in the recipe. Because it started off with the sugar. And they added like an extra half a cup of sugar into the
Half
muffins.
a cup, bro. It was
And
at
then-
least another 2 cups or
Oh,
something on top of that.
Oh my god, that's
We
right.
went
It
nuts.
was like two
We
and a
just
half
poured
cups.
it in.
You guys are fucked.
Yeah, I remember that now.
It's funny.
And I was telling them not to do it. On the record, I was telling them not to do it. And so then they get to like the self-raising flour and the sodium, and like James is like, oh no, it'll be fine. And he like, it was meant to be like 1 tablespoon, right? He puts 3 tablespoons in, and we put it into the oven, and I'm like, this is not going to end well. But I didn't quite realize to what extent. And so we were standing around for about 15 minutes, and as they started to rise, they were really starting to bubble, and I'm like, oh, this is really not looking good, guys. I'm like, maybe we should stop, and James is like, nah, it'll be fine. And so I'm like, all right, if you say so. There's probably another 5 minutes after that it just went,
Yeah.
and literally the inside of the oven was covered in
You ever seen
cakes.
Cat in the Hat?
It was,
Yes.
Yeah, it was like that. Except
yeah.
brown. Just, oh.
Yeah, a whole lot of flour, and it just went everywhere. I think we had to stay like an extra 30 minutes back to.
Well,
clean
you
that
did.
whole-
I had to catch a
hilarious.
bus, so I got out easy.
Yeah, that's right. Me and James had to stay back.
That's honestly
and
such a
clean
James thing to do, but that's just fucking hilarious. Like, oh fuck it, let's just
about
add a
that?
little
Oh
bit
yeah,
more.
fucking see you later.
it up. What about that time when we flooded the
Wait, I
kitchen
don't
as well,
remember
did
this.
you?
So many
Oh,
kitchen
yeah, the
stories
tap
with you
broke.
guys. What the fuck's your problem?
Yeah,
Oh, God. We couldn't turn it
the
off.
pipe broke. I
Yeah.
think it was.
And we had to like
Yeah.
keep filling it up
And,
with like pots and shit and dump it in someone else's
buckets.
sink.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And then we started throwing it out the window because we were right next to the thing. Because like the water was literally flying
Oh,
over the sink
God.
onto the classroom floor, and it was going everywhere. And I was like, "Miss, we have a problem. We can't turn our tap off." And she's like, "Oh, fine, let me do it." And so she walks up and she comes to turn it off, and she's like, "Oh, I can't turn the tap off." Oh no, I remember what happened. Remember the plug was in the water, but we had it on hot water so we could clean it.
Oh, we
And
couldn't
was
get
so
it
hot
out.
that whenever we couldn't put our hands in to put the plug out. So like I literally put on 2 gloves. She's like, put some gloves on and pull the plug out. I'm like, all right, I'll do it. So I put 2 layers of gloves on and shoved my hand into the sink to pull the plug out. Before I even got halfway through the sink, I had to pull my hand out. The gloves literally had melted off my hands, and my hands were bright red. I was like, yeah, miss, this isn't happening. So we're like, oh, okay. So someone had to run out and get like the groundskeeper to like come and turn the water off from the pipes. And everyone was standing in there like in a line, just like shoveling water out of the sink. It's like boiling hot water. Oh, it was such a mess.
Mate,
that
you
class.
guys were like fucked in food tech. Like I thought I was bad, but
No,
you
were
guys,
bad. You almost burnt the classroom down.
so much shit happened to me in that classroom, man. So much
Oh,
shit.
remember
like,
when Messed Up told you to squeeze the egg?
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. When I squeeze the egg. Yeah. Anyway, this guy like tells me, "All right, Richard, look at this. Like I squeeze this egg, and it's not breaking. Like it must just be super strong." And me being the gullible piece of fucking shit that I am, go, "Oh yeah." And what he had ended up actually doing was he just make his fingers look like they were tensing. So when I went and got this fucking thing,
He squeezed it as
I
hard as he could.
you feel like such an idiot though, because like you just squeeze it and then all you see is this fucking yolk just like shoot up into the air, and like you just follow it up and then just wait for it to hit the floor and splatter everywhere.
The look of the uttermost disappointment I came across your face that I've ever seen in my life. You were just lost to Messed Up, and in the most ridiculous way possible as well. And you were just so disappointed in yourself. It was so clear.
Like as soon as I squeezed it, I was like, ah, far out. Why the hell did I fall for this shit?
I think my favourite high school memories though would probably have to be some of them in year 8.
I was literally gonna say
Mr. Wilson.
Yes, Mr.
that class
Wilson,
was a wreck.
mate.
It was disgusting.
Mate, you like with the first day you got to school and you got given your timetable, and you looked at your second period for the year was with a new guy called Mr. Wilson, you kind of knew from the name, this guy just doesn't seem like
Immediately
all
the
there.
volleyball memes started going, Wilson!
Yeah, instantly. And like, first lesson, I think I gave him a chance, but then by the second I was like, mate, this guy's a
Well, I remember our
He
first
just
lesson.
doesn't
You
know
know what
what
happened
he's
to
doing.
me? I spent half the period in the wrong classroom.
I remember that! You walked
Yeah.
in halfway through!
And he's like-
That's right!
Oh, are you in this class? I'm like, yeah, I was in the wrong classroom.
I remember that. Like, this was the time where the penis game was thriving.
Oh,
And
God.
let's just say, this wacky fella took it to the next level.
Right. Yeah. So and I got moved, like, this is probably like, I'd say in the third term, and it's around like the middle of it, the third term, I'd say. And like Ben has said, the penis game was just in the works. Like, it was like the big thing that like the kids were doing.
And if no one knows what the penis game is, it's essentially whoever's playing will say penis, and each person has to say it gradually louder than the last person until someone gets. In
You can
trouble
guess the
for it
type
by
of people
screaming
that
penis out.
played. Yeah.
Yeah, absolute
Yeah.
degenerates
So
like Richard.
degenerates. Yeah. People like me. Yeah. Anyway, like Andrew, this guy that was mentioned previously, he goes, hey Richard. I went, yeah, what's up? And he goes, penis. And I went,
Challenge
"Oh,
accepted.
And I'm like, yeah, exactly. It's like fucking challenge accepted. And I just went, yeah, penis. And he went, penis. 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 And then it got to that point where I just went, penis!
And then Mr. Wilson
And then
turns
Mr.
around.
Wilson hears me.
He
And he's
just
like,
goes, no, Richard,
Oh.
vagina.
yeah,
Vagina.
exactly. He's coming up, and then he's at my desk, and he goes, Richard, vagina.
No, I think the worst part about it was that we were all about 12 and 13 years old,
Yeah,
and he said
says it's-
vagina in a classroom full of
This
13-year-old
Andrew
boys.
comes back from bloody going to the loo, and then as soon as he walks into the classroom, just screams penis, and then Mr. Wilson sends him outside of that.
Like, immediately.
He doesn't get to
the
sit
first thing
down.
What happens is we all sit down. Yeah, no, we all sit down. He walks into the classroom. He goes,
Andrew, get out.
And Mr. Wilson goes, Andrew, outside.
He's like, for what,
Oh,
sir?
God.
Yeah, and he gets sent outside. And then you did something to that lesson that got you sent outside. And you were both standing out there within like 5 minutes of the classroom. And then he sends you to the head of math, I think. And you both get like eye notes or after school detentions or something. I can't even remember.
Yeah, because like Binskin would like see us there. She'd be like, oh, "You again? What did you guys do now?" And we'd be like, "Nothing, miss. We were just having a laugh." And she goes, "Yeah, how are you having a laugh?" I'm like, "Oh." Snapped the ruler in half and threw it across the room in some guy in the head, you know. And she'd be like, oh, you brought your diaries, okay? And she'd be like, and she's like, what do I write this I note for? I remember she's giving me an I note. I note is an infraction though, so whenever you did something bad, guys, you'd get an I note, and if 5 of them, you'd get to, like a detention.
After school hours.
Yeah. Anyway, she'd like, and I remember this one time I had to go there. She's like, oh, you know, she's like, what do I even write this for? You know, and I was just like, I don't know, idiocy, something like that, you know, idiocy. And she's just like, all right, that'll do. And she literally freaking wrote, being an idiot, in my fucking handbook. I think with me and Andrew in that particular class, we were lucky because Mr. Wilson was such a bad teacher that whenever we disrupted the class, everyone took it as a blessing. Because it was such a boring classroom. And then like you just see Andrew like yell, "Oh, for fuck's sakes," or something. And he'd be like, "Oh," and he'd be like, "All right, what's Big Willie gonna do now?"
The class was honestly just chaos. Like the whole time, I sat next.
And it was because of you two.
Me?
It was because
Yeah.
of Richard and
Oh.
Andrew. No, you, Richard and Andrew. It was
Me
literally
and
them
Andrew.
two. The whole
Yeah.
The whole year,
whole
I sat next to PJ and in the corner, and we did fuck all maths.
We did, Jack.
I sat next to Richard all year.
Yeah.
So you can imagine that I got nothing.
Wait, tell
done
that
either.
story about
Yeah,
when he electrocuted himself.
Oh, I wasn't there.
Oh my god, mate. Yeah. So this was year
Skip a
11
few-
physics, and I hated this class, man. I don't know why I chose physics in the first place. I'm not smart enough. I have no willpower or whatever to do it. So I'm just in this classroom just for the lols, just to do some like weird
With
science
fucking
shit.
Bill Nye.
Anyway, yeah, exactly. Bill Nye in the science. Yeah. Anyway, Big Willie, he brings out a Van de Graaff generator, which is that electric ball thing, that
He
like
clearly
you-
learnt a lot in physics. The
Exactly,
big ball
the
thingy.
electric ball thing. Anyway, he brings it out. He's like, okay, so and we're measuring currents to do with electricity. So what he'd do is he'd get like the measuring thing, and he'd place it against the ball, and then he'd make a spark from it. But when this dickhead was using it, he put it on a metal table. So whenever he'd make the spark, the current would flow through the legs, and it was resting his foot on it, or his leg, on the table. So whenever he'd make the spark, it would electrocute him, and he'd be like, alright, so we're gonna test now. And he'd be like, ah! He would literally make that sound, and he went, oh man, and he goes, this must be pretty powerful, and he'd turn it down. Then he'd do it again, same shit, and it'd be like, oh, you know. And then like on the third time, it took him like 3 times a science teacher with a degree, with a master's degree, to realize maybe it's because I'm resting my leg up against a metal pole.
I think my favourite story with Wilson is those pop crackly things.
Oh yeah.
So like we just for some context, we had a spring fair one year. It was in our 10th grade, and for a school spring fair, and there was like all these little stalls and everything that you could buy like bits of junk from, and one of them sold these boxes. I think it was like just gunpowder in a paper bag sort of thing, a little bit of gunpowder or something like that.
Yeah, it had gunpowder and like a little sparklers.
Yeah,
Like,
and so like
the lighters, yeah.
you just throw it on the ground and it'll just go bang. And so Richard naturally bought a box of or 2 boxes of these.
Mate,
during
I
the spring
bought like
fair and took them to
I bought
class.
like 6 or 10 boxes. I bought heaps.
And so we're sitting in science together, and we sit towards the back, and Wilson's standing at the front, and Richard unzips his pencil case, and I see these boxes laying in his pencil case. I'm like, oh fuck, here we go. And so he starts to pull them out slowly so that Wilson wouldn't see, and he pulls one out, and he throws it onto the ground and it bangs. And Wilson turns around and he's like, what's that? And Richard goes, oh, it must have been one of the other experiments that another class did, sir. And
Yeah, like it's yeah.
and so he's like, oh, all right, and turns back around and starts doing his thing. And so Richard keeps throwing them and making up different excuses. And then Wilson goes into a hallway which connects to a different classroom. And Richard just starts pelting one after another, after another onto the ground. And so he comes back in and he's really pissed off. And he's like, Richard, what are you doing? Richard goes, I'm just banging my ruler, sir. And so Wilson comes up to him. Richard doesn't even own a ruler. Richard took my ruler and gave it to Wilson. And so Wilson takes it off him thinking he's won, walks back to the front of the classroom, puts it down. And then some other guy gives Richard another ruler. And so Richard just keeps pelting them more and more onto the ground. And Wilson comes up and goes, where'd you get that other ruler from? And he's like, I don't know, sir, it's just another one I have. And so he takes that one too, and he finally sees all these little packages on the ground from where Richard had been throwing these little pop bang things. And didn't he give you like an eye note or something for it?
No, he didn't, because he couldn't prove it was me.
Oh, that's right, yeah, because you made a big
Because
fuss about
I was
it.
like, how do you know it was
proof
me?
it was me, sir.
Yeah, and he's like, show me a pencil case to your pockets, and I was like, I was smart enough that I hid it in a lab coat.
Yeah,
So
that's
he never
right.
find it. So he
Speaking
couldn't
of the
prove it
lab
was me.
coats.
Yeah, and like he has like a row of boys in front of me,
Yeah.
you know. So it could have been anyone, and no one was gonna admit it. And he's like, and he's not the type of guy to keep people in a lunch for fucking like.
Richard,
listening
I'm just
to
gonna say
bangers.
you are the biggest shit cunt back in school. It's absolutely hilarious to listen to.
Well, speaking of lab
You know,
coats...
yeah, you know what? Yeah, speaking of lab coats, yeah. Anyway, yeah, but you know what? I was the biggest piece of shit that hardly ever got caught for it.
No, you got caught. The teachers
I
just
was
didn't
just like-
care.
You got caught plenty of
They
times.
just gave up
Yeah,
hope
I
on
got
you.
caught a lot, but like, yeah, exactly. Like I've set a really like low bar for my brothers. And like Bennett said, speaking about lab coats, yeah, there was a reason why I didn't do any work that year. Cause I sat at me and Bennett, we sat at the back, and a majority of lessons, hey, there was just this coat rack full of lab coats there that was sitting there.
And Richard isn't exactly the tallest human being.
Yeah. So because number one, I hated this guy. Number two, I
He
hate
was a
science.
nice
Number
guy.
three, I don't want to do.
I loved Wilson.
Yeah, I like Wilson to the end, but like at that time, I just wanted to fuck with him because like he was just a dumb shit.
You're a terrible.
I'd love.
If you ever find this Wilson,
I'd
we're
love to
very
get
sorry.
Mr. Wilson on one day, just as like a guest.
Oh.
How funny would that be?
That would be brilliant. I think that would be the
I
funniest.
feel like he would do it too.
Yeah, he
I
would.
feel like he would too.
He so would.
Like, I don't like him. I hate science. I don't want to do any work. And there's this fucking just coat of coat racks, fucking lab coats behind me, whatever. So I had the genius idea. Like Ben said, I'm not the tallest gentleman in the world, but not by any means.
He's very short.
All I did was I leaned back in a chair, opened up a little hole in the coat rack, and then I closed it. And I was completely obscured.
He pretty much had his chair inside the coat rack, and he sat in the coat rack, and all the lab coats just surrounded him, and it looked like there was no one there. Like,
Yeah,
even
pretty-
where I was sitting right next to it, and it was hard to tell if he was there or not still.
Yeah, and anyway, like it'll always like come out that like he'd eventually get like 50 minutes into the lesson, he'd be like, all right, let's mark the roll, and he'd get to my name, and he'd be like, Richard, and he'd look up, and he'd just see, he would see me come in the classroom, and he'd be like, where the fuck is this guy? And he knows I sit
Sometimes
at
you'd
the back.
even poke your head out from there.
Yeah, and then like I'd poke, and then I'd be like, yeah, hey, so how you going? And he'd be like, oh, you're in the lab rack again, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, what's going on? Hey, how you doing? One time, fucking hell, one time I got him so well. I kind of like walked in front of all the big guys, like pretty massive dudes. So like you couldn't really see me if you weren't paying attention for like a little Mexican kid. You wouldn't see me. You know, so I snuck in, and like I didn't even sit in my fucking chair. I didn't even put my stuff on the desk. I just like went and I just sat in a coat rack. And this guy doesn't fucking mark the roll until like 40 minutes in, and he calls my name and he's like, "Well, where's this guy?" And Bennett's like, "Oh, he must be away, sir." It's the fourth period of the day. I've been
in every
there.
other class.
Yeah, I've been in every other classroom. He didn't see me walk in the room. He didn't see me go and just like sit in the coat rack, and I just had a great time. I was just on my phone, and I had Bennett there. Like just like poking his head in, like, "You're doing okay, Richard?"
Because I didn't even know he was there to begin with.
Yeah, hey, you didn't.
Because I walk in and I'm like, wait, where the fuck is Richard? And I don't know if you rustled in the lab coats or if I just decided to check, but I just pull the one lab coat aside gently a little bit, and I peer in and I just see him there on his phone, and he flips me off and pulls the lab coat back over his head. And I'm like, all right. There was some interesting moments in school too, like when we were lined up for humanities that one lesson, and I was standing in front of James and he just uppercutted me in the nuts for no reason. Do you remember that? I was just standing in front of him. I think I was talking to you, Richard, and Kyle, like all three of you. Oh, and Jimmy was just sitting there on the bench.
I remember
and all
that.
of a sudden,
I do remember
I was just
that.
standing there with my hands on my hips, and then he just uppercuts me in the balls. I just dropped like a sack
James
of
had a
shit.
habit of just randomly hitting people because it was funny.
Yeah, but that was
Yeah, because
harsh,
James-
that one.
Because James is a kind of guy. He's a gentle giant, but like
He's not always.
either you do one or two things. Like you fucking get the shits and like hit him, and he'd just be like, "Fucking excuse me, you're gonna hit me." Or the other thing is he'd hit you and you just cop it because like you didn't want to attack him, and that's just me, like little me.
He's
He's
just
a
so
big
strong,
unit.
dude. He is
Very,
so
very strong. Just a massive human.
Like, I'm not a small person either. Like, I'm a pretty big boy, but he is just so strong.
And he's like, yeah, he's like suspiciously strong, you know.
What
Like,
do you
you
mean
wouldn't-
suspiciously? Like he does.
Dude, he's like
steroids or
7
something?
foot tall. There's nothing suspicious about that.
Yeah, but like, have you seen him? There's like, he doesn't look like he's got a lot of muscle on him. But like,
Yes,
bro,
he does.
well, he does, but like,
Bro, your
fuck,
vision's
forget what
distorted
I'm
from
saying.
your low angle. I think
Yeah,
you've got
you
to
should
like.
put your glasses back on, dude.
Yeah, I should put my glasses back on. Yeah, just fucking whatever I say is just bullshit from this point. And just on the subject, like about just school and shit, man. Fucking hell, there was some fucking.
Oh, better not include this
Mate.
part.
let's not go
You
there.
tell us a story. You're a bit quiet.
Yeah, PJ hasn't told a story yet. How about you
Because
wait?
I don't have any fucking good stories. I didn't do
Yes, you
shit at school.
I'm
I
sure
just
you have.
I showed up, fucked around.
Yeah, but you're
Went
hanging
home.
around us enough.
Yeah, there must be one thing that we did.
I was actually thinking of one before, but now I can't remember it. It was something to. I thought of it.
I remember.
I remember in year 8.
Oh, no.
science-
I think Kyle
Don't
might have
steal-
just about to
don't-
say the same one with Mr.
Don't steal
Myhill.
this from
Yeah,
me.
go
Yeah,
on.
don't steal this from me.
Oh fuck! Well, I don't have any other
Okay,
good
so
one.
in year 8 science, right, me and PJ were in the same class. I'm sure Bennett and Richard were too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was there.
Favorite science class because came first in that year, so such
Yeah, it was
such
awesome.
shit.
I came second.
Anyway, I didn't even get a fucking A for that. I got a B.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Same. But we got put into extension. Didn't you drop the next year
Yeah.
for extension though?
But he fall from good.
I stayed because
You were doing some bloody like experiment right, with a thermometer, and like I thought it was a great idea to stick the thermometer like into the blue flame of the fucking Bunsen inverter.
Oh my god!
So like I was just saying
Right
there
next to me.
yeah, so right next to PJ, and like next minute you just hear a massive bang. And the mercury went all over PJ. Like, lucky he was wearing a jacket.
And I got
otherwise-
showered with fucking thermometer glass.
I remember this. Yes.
Myhill didn't care about me. He cared about the thermometer that got blown
The
up.
thermometer. Yeah, he was pissed about the thermometer.
I remember that class, and I remember Connor. We had the old projector out, and he stuck a fucking ruler in the fan.
Oh yeah, and it exploded.
It like snapped off, and it like kept on the like this the
the
freaking
fan
noise,
was
man.
like, yeah, but yeah, no, that class was trouble, man. I got an I note for smiling at Andrew when he drew a mustache on his face. He drew a mustache on his face, looked across at me, across the room, and smiled at me, and so I had a little bit of a giggle. Like, it was so minute as well, and I get in trouble. I'm like, are you serious?
Shit. That class, the year 7 class, was just so munted. Like, cause it was our first time in high school. We were like, yeah, let's be rowdy.
Remember how, I don't even know why or how it started. Remember how people would put their food in the fire hydrant?
Oh, bro, the
Just a
fire
side note,
hydrant.
Richard is our Joey Diaz. Did you just hear that? He's saying the fire
Yeah.
hydrant, Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I don't know why or how it started, but there was a fire hydrant near the year 7 classrooms, and people would put the food inside the fire hydrant, and they would just leave it there. And the groundskeepers and stuff and like cleaners didn't know about it, so it never got cleaned up. And then I think it was in year 9 we had an experiment to go swab something in the school and let it grow. Is it called the petri dish?
Yeah, petri dish.
So we were supposed to go swab something and then let it grow inside the petri dish for like a few weeks. And so naturally, our group and another group ran off to the boys' toilets to go and try and swipe the urinal. And we got there second, so we didn't just want to copy their thing. So we were standing around for like a minute or two going, oh, what could we swipe? Just like something disgusting, something so foul that it's going to like destroy the urinal. And we start thinking, and I was like, do you reckon they ever found that food in the fire hydrant? And the look all three of us got on our faces simultaneously was just that of pure excitement. And
Yeah,
so
it was like gold, man, gold.
we sprinted to the year 7 classrooms when like these guys who we were with who swiped the toilets before us were like just staring at us run off. And so we run off and we like open it up, and sure enough there was like 2-year-old sandwiches.
Oh,
and
it was
fruit.
disgusting.
Opening it nearly
man.
made me throw up. Like, it was filthy. And so we're like, yep, this will do. And there was like some sort of like, I think it must have been cheese. It must have been cheese at some point. But it was like
Yeah.
some sort of sticky, black, goopy
Yeah,
mess.
like just imagine opening it, and this is like a red box. Like, it is red, but imagine, and it's got like a like it had like a hose in there as well, right? And just imagine all around this hose, there is like a mixture of this white fuzz with normal green mold, and then just this black freaking
gloopy
mess.
stuff.
And it was so foul, man.
We dip like this little, it's like an earbud sort of thing, like and Q-tip sort of thing, and dip it into the goop. And we run back to the classroom, we sit it in there. And so we let it grow for a few weeks. And I swear to God, we were the creators of Ebola. My God. It was absolute filth.
Yeah, like other guys just had these little circles just growing there, like, you know, just moldy and all that kind of stuff. Our entire thing was covered in just this white thing.
It grew legs and could speak the English language. It was terrifying. Oh, what are we at? We're about an hour now, huh?
Yeah, kind of.
Do the PJ May
I
outros
can't-
that you're so
I can't
famous for.
face palm a podcast, so
Oh shit! Just smack your
smack
mic with
you
your hand.
my hand.
Oh, puppy. Well, guys, it's been actually an honor. So glad catching up with you guys today, and just sharing these stories of how we were just the fucking worst, particularly me. Thank you for having me, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, don't get too comfortable.
And I hope to. Yeah, fuck off.
Oh, I said
Oh,
that.
mate, this guy. Yeah, nah. And I will be back.
Well, keeping in mind this, since Richard has taken about 3 minutes just to do an outro, this has been Pragmatically Primitive, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you next time.
Get lost. I didn't take 3 minutes. It was more like a minute and a half.
Has everyone stopped recording yet?
No, I'm still recording. Fuck you.